Okay, so for those of you who came in late, this is called the grist. We're basically just cracking the barley grains that have been malted so that you can get to the starches so that we can turn them to sugar so that we can beer.
And our lovely model.
Smells so good. Smells great.
Okay, now this is crystal malt. It's a malt that's already gone through most of its conversion stage, meaning it's converted most of the starch to sugar. We add this at the end of the saccharification of that malt, basically to add body. It'll add body to the beer.
And when do we put it in?
We put it in just before we sparge.
Only, or?
Sparging is when you rinse the sugars out of the converted sugars out of the grains. And we're going to break down the protein molecules in the protein rest, and then we're going to break down the starch molecules to sugars, which is the saccharification. And once you've converted all the starch to sugar, you have to get it out of the grains. And when you rinse the sugars out of the grains, that's called sparging. Strike temperature, meaning when the water strikes the grains, it will hopefully hit the temperature that you're looking for. So we make sort of this porridge here for a protein rest. So basically what we want to do here is we want to get this to be 130 degrees for about a half hour. Just cover it with towels so that it maintains a consistent temperature, because the enzymes that are breaking down the protein molecules right now are diastatic at 130 degrees. They're not active below that, and they die above that. We have about a 5-degree leeway. And I want to keep it there about a half an hour. I started this 2 days ago. Basically what I do is I make a wort with some malt extract and some hops. The hops are the green stuff on top. It's not fungus or anything. It's a herb. And I mix that with the dregs from my last beer. And the dregs have the spore. When yeast runs out of food, it spores, which is how it goes into its dormant state. So the yeast spores mixed in with the dregs come back to life when I give it more food, meaning the wort. And I just put it into a sterile jar with an airlock on it so that it gets to high kreuzen. What I'm doing right now is getting ready for the saccharification. This here is just an insulated soda keg that's the top's been cut off and a spigot's been put on the bottom, and I have a screen in there for filtering out the grains. What we're doing now is we finished the protein rest, and so we have to start the saccharification. And to get the enzymes up to the saccharification temperature, I'm just going to stick this on the stove. So basically what I do is I blast it with heat and stir it for like 5 minutes and let it rest to see if it settles at a temperature, well, to see what temperature it settles at. And I do that repeatedly until I get it to 150 degrees. When we get to 150, we'll transfer it into the mash tun, and it'll sit there for an hour or two as it converts the starches to sugars. But while it's heating, I have to keep stirring it so it doesn't burn to the bottom.
It's pretty thick.
It's like, you can come look if you want. It's sort of like porridge. Steam your camera.
Notice that everything.
This part here, I'm just transferring it into the mash tun, which is just, it's got a screen on the bottom and is insulated, so it helps maintain a consistent temperature. It's already, you can't tell you folks at home, but it's already starting to smell sweet. We're already starting to get some of the saccharification going here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to decoct about a pint of the wort. Meaning I'm just going to take it out, take some of the run out off, stick it on the stove, boil it, and stick it back in. Should be enough to raise it up that 1 degree. I could actually, it would still convert at this 1 degree, but it would be a lighter bodied beer. The type of yeast that we're using thrives on maltose, or it'll also eat dextrose or sucrose, but all we're interested here is in is maltose. And the byproduct of yeast consuming maltose are 2 things: CO2 and alcohol. So I'm going to take a little bit of the wort and put it on a little white plate here. I'm going to take a little tincture of iodine here. And we watch it for a few minutes. A few seconds. Looks like we've got pretty good conversion. Because it's turning a little dark around the edges, but it's not turning really purple.
Right.
This is the crystal malt that we've left here. So I'm going to mix this in. What's going to happen right now is it's going to be about 10 minutes as we heat up the sparge water because it sacrificed a lot more quickly than I expected. So what we want to do is get all the small particles of grains rinsed through until the husks of the grains start to make sort of a filter bed. And what I do is just keep this running and keep cycling it through until the runoff starts turning clear. And then we've got up on top of the refrigerator here the sparge tune. This is filled with about 4.5 gallons of 170-degree water, which we're going to put in a little sprinkler that goes above the mash tune, and we'll rinse the sugars out of the grains. If you bought malt extract, you wouldn't have to do anything that we've done yet.
Wow.
I'll tell you when we'll start from where you would start if you bought malt extract.
All right.
I'm hooking up my sparging sprinkler. This is not a necessary piece of equipment, but just helps an even sparge. Because this is all going to get boiled to hell, so there's really no reason to keep it sterile.
This is great. Look at this.
There it goes. It's sprinkling.
Okay, so we finished the sparge. We've got this huge pot here to show for it. So what we've got to do is boil this down to 5 gallons. So I have my little dipstick to see how much I have. And we have just over 5 gallons. We have about 5.5 gallons. So what's going to happen is once this gets to a full rolling boil, I'm going to add the hops to it, the bittering hops. I'm going to boil it there for about 45 minutes to an hour, the last 15 minutes of which I'm going to put in the finishing hops. Okay, so the first thing that happens is the the yeast absorbs oxygen, which allows it to multiply, and then it can do its fermentation work anaerobically. But it's important to have oxygen in right now, but not to allow oxygen to contact it after right now. So right now, we're doing the carboy shuffle to oxygenate the beer.
Woo, baby! Woo!
I would like some music, please. Nice foamy head there. Okay, now we're going to put the airlock on. So what happens now, we put our airlock in. Takes a second to adjust because the sterilant is a little slippery. Put the cap on. We add a little sodium metabisulfide solution, not so that it doesn't allow any bad air to go into the solution. We put a cap on it. This has little pinholes to allow gases to escape. And we've done everything. This is going to sit here for about 2 days as it does its primary fermentation, which is the most active fermentation. By this time tomorrow, this is going to be going crazy. This thing's going to be going blah, 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 blah. There's going to be croissant all over the top. After about 2 days, it dies back down, and we rack it off the dead yeast onto the peaches into another glass carboy. We'll leave it there for about a month, and then we'll bottle it. And a month after that, we'll have beer.
Thanks, Trevor.
Sure. And Jeff, you wanted a light one?
Uh-huh.
How about you, Nancy?
10.
Huh?
White one, the light one.
Okay.
Not
Excusez-moi.
bad. This is very good.
Sweet.